Welcome to the Fantasy Q&A show with the Pro Football Demon and the Buffalo Trill and the pale vampire-looking guy named Brian McFadden, co-founder of Legit Football. Guys, what is up? We are on the verge of Week 14, kicking off with a thrilling matchup between Bailey Zappi and Mitchell Trubisky. Shoot me now, Rich.
Yeah. Are you guys? Well, I am a Patriot fan tonight, by the way, for a number of reasons.
Me as well.
I need them to win. So in case the Jets lose, I don't want the Jets to lose, but in case they lose, at least we would be in a play for a higher draft pick. So that's my thinking.
So that's it. You don't want Bill getting right now. The Patriots are in the number 2 overall draft spot, right? And so we need the Patriots to go in the opposite direction, correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
But will Bill be there, Kevin, to even oversee this?
Not a chance. I want to start with. I gotta give credit to McFadden. That was my favorite of your intros, man. That was really the triple.
It was inspiration.
It was a beautiful thing. Second of all, Bills fans are desperate to see the Steelers lose. Yeah, no question.
I will say we have, and people join throughout the show, but we have a smaller crowd so far than we normally have, probably because they made plans. Nobody's staying around to watch Steelers Patriots, and I don't blame you. But for those of you that are here, this is the Fantasy Q&A show. We're going to spend the next hour-ish answering all your fantasy questions. Start, sit, rest of season rankings, trade if you're still able, if your trade deadline is still open. For most of you, this is the last week of the regular season. I hope you guys are in the playoffs or on the verge. If you want to guarantee that your question gets answered, once again, we don't have a producer for these episodes. It's me trying to moderate the chat. The only way to guarantee, other than getting here before the show starts, we'll guarantee those get answered, is to use the super chat feature on the Pro Football Demon YouTube channel. Otherwise, I will try my best to moderate. Rich, Kevin, are you ready to answer some fantasy questions?
Always,
baby.
All right, let's jump right in. A number of these tonight, by the way, were submitted before we went live. Smart on you. First question, Mr. Squishy79. Start Lockett, Charbonnet, Singletary, or Rice at flex. Oh, and we have a defensive question right off the bat. Start Dolphins or Saints D. Rich, we'll start with you.
Ooh, man, I don't love any of these options, honestly. I'm probably going to
Charbonnet has not practiced yet.
Yeah.
So
I don't like Singletary against the Jets.
Although the Jets' run defense has not been that good this year.
What do I call Singletary? Well, I guess, but still, for me, it's between Lockett and Rice, and I'm probably going to go Lockett. Just because the Chiefs passing game hasn't looked great. So
don't love any of the options. I'm kind of staring down the Tyler Lockett decision in a lot of my leagues myself. So I appreciate Mr. Squishy immediately pressing a personal button for me. I think I would probably go with Lockett as well, just based on the fact that I kind of feel like if there's going to be a place for Seattle to exploit the 49ers, it's going to be through Tyler Lockett. But I don't really, like I said, I don't really like any of these matchups particularly, to be completely honest with you.
I'm actually not on Lockett in this one. JSN has been getting a lot of work in that offense. Yeah. So Lockett he's still there and he gets a few targets, but man, he's so hard to count on an offense that hasn't been explosive at all, give or take last week when DK went off. So I actually kind of like Rice here. I think Chiefs-Bills is going to be one of those games that you're going to have to throw the ball. If it's not Kelsey, who else is going to catch balls? Not that Rice is a great option, but I think he's going to get volume. So I'm actually leaning. I don't hate Singletary. I think Charbonnet with his injury risk and Lockett with his lack of usage is out the window for me. So Singletary or Rice, and I'm actually leaning Rice because of the matchup. Rich, how about did you already talk about the defense or did I?
No, I didn't. I would go Dolphins against Tennessee.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
Saints play the Panthers, but I'm agreeing with the Dolphins. Defense has actually been one of the best in the NFL over the past 6 weeks. Really, since they got Jalen Ramsey back, and they play a pretty poor Titans offense, especially with Will Levis.
QB, that's a smash play.
127 Lasher. Start Bijan or Montgomery, Kevin.
Yeah, it's not a great matchup for Bijan.
Bijan, you had an extra I in there.
It's not a great matchup for Bijan. The Bucks are pretty decent at stopping the run, so that's not a matchup that I absolutely love.
He gets a lot of pass game work too, though.
Correct. Meanwhile, the Lions are playing the Bears, which should be last game was a little tighter. I'd like to say that this profiles as a blowout. And I like the odds that Montgomery falls in the end zone a time or two. My gut originally was going to be Bijan, and I will, for whatever that's worth, Lasher, I'll throw out my gut answer, but process, I think, leans Monty.
I had a feeling Kevin. I really thought Kevin was going to say Bijan, and I was about to laugh.
I wanted.
I didn't think Bijan looked great last week.
Yeah, tough week.
Yeah, and if I'm looking at these guys, I think Kevin hit the nail on the head when he said Monty has the much better chance to fall in the end zone a time or two. So that's what weighs it for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I can't say no to Bijan.
I
don't know.
Now I have to make fun of you.
I don't know there's many running backs that I would start over him. He is essentially the Falcons' offense, especially when they have Ritter at quarterback, because there's just not much of a passing game involved there. And he can always, just from pure usage alone, you forget the running game, he could get 7 targets. So any running back that's going to get 7 targets, Montgomery's not going to get the targets. They're going to give those to Gibbs. You're relying kind of on either a big run or some goal line work from Montgomery. I don't always like that. Bijan will get more volume, so I'm going to say Bijan. Angelo Vitanza. Do I start Geno Smith or Jake Browning, Rich?
Wow. Who do the Bengals have?
Let's see. Cincinnati plays the Colts. Cincinnati is at home, and the Seahawks play the 49ers on the road.
Yeah, because it's Geno. There aren't too many quarterbacks I would say roll the dice with Browning, but I think you might want to roll the dice with Browning here because he just looked good last week, and I think he gets that something Zach Wilson doesn't get. Or any of the Jets quarterback. I'm not going to rant about the Jets right now.
You are, Rich. It's
target your number one receiver, and he did that.
True.
He just
12 times
kept swinging at Jamar Chase. So I think
and deep too. This wasn't like he started off with a lot of screens, but he threw a bomb to Jamar for like 60 something yards.
Now to be fair, Geno did that with DK last week, but I have a better feeling about. I like the play calling better in Cincinnati, and I really liked what I saw from Browning last week. So I would roll the dice with Browning.
Yeah, I'm locking in with Pro Football Demon on this one. I like Geno Smith. He's been a little better lately. It was great to see him have a great game against a great defense. Did not think I would see that at all this year. But Browning McFadden, you had him on your waiver wire pickup list.
He's on my waiver wire list.
Deservedly so, I think, against the Colts and not the best defense. I think Browning could really surprise some people this week again.
For the first time, we are aligned. This is an easy one for me, to be honest with you, because of the matchup and because, honestly, of how good Browning looked. This wasn't a guy who threw a couple short passes and then there was a bunch of yak. He was legitimately reading defense, going through progressions, putting the ball on target, and as you mentioned, Rich, getting the ball to his superstar wide receiver repeatedly. So that's a recipe for success against a pretty susceptible Colts secondary. So I think we're all aligned here. Jake Browning, go for it. Lock it up. 127 Lasher again. Opinion on Waddle this week, Kevin?
Yeah, I checked out Waddle stats preparing for this question, and I was kind of disgusted a little bit. Not what you bargained for when you drafted him high, and it's not that the Dolphins have suffered whatsoever from his lack of production. It's just that Tyreek Hill's pie has been his piece of the pie has been so big that Waddle's just been kind of on a really, I would say, borderline, slightly above average to like good numbers for a wide receiver 2 in an offense, but what you expect for Waddle is like pseudo wide receiver 1 numbers, and that's not really what we're looking at. So this week, remind me again the matchup. Miami takes on
Titans Monday night.
The Titans. I think there should be plenty to go around, but if it's a blowout, Miami has proven that they're not afraid to lean into the run. So personally, if you have a better option, I would probably pivot, but I think you could sure as hell do worse.
Oh, for me, right? It goes to me.
You are next. That is how the format works, Mr. D.
I also think, with Achane back, there's no reason to really go to Waddle.
Tough.
And I think this whole Tyreek Hill hitting 2,000 yards thing is something that Miami really wants to get to. So not that they're going to try to force the ball to Tyreek for that reason, but I'm not sold on Waddle.
I would want to know what your other options are, Lasher. So if you put in the chat who your other wide receivers are, or if it's a flex option, who's in the flex. A general opinion of Waddle, these guys have summed it up. It's not a talent thing. He's actually been healthy, so it's not an injury
Very good
thing.
player.
It's a Tyreek Hill who should be the MVP at this point in this season thing.
He should be. If Purdy gets it over him, man, that's sacrilege.
It'll happen because they won't give it to a non-quarterback. But no one is more valuable to his team this season than Tyreek Hill. And I'm a Purdy fan. So that really is the question there. Waddle has had a couple weeks where he has produced. It's just hard to rely on. But hey, you might have crappier options. So let us know who else you have, and we'll give you our thoughts. Colby Robbins has asked this question like 17 times in the chat. I started the first time, Colby, but we're going to go ahead and answer it. You don't have to keep putting it in there. Choose two to start, Rich. Josh Downs, George Pickens, Dameon Pierce, Noah Brown. We're picking two of these four.
Two of these four. For me, this is actually pretty easy. I'm going Downs and Brown. George Pickens has money mitch thrown to him. Dameon Pierce has not been good all year. Singletary's the better back in that offense.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like how confident you are. I think that kind of makes me a little hesitant. Pierce, man. Pierce, like McFadden said, Jets have not been the best at stopping the run. Pierce seems to be their guy now again, which has just been so frustrating. I really loved Singletary. I was bought in when he started taking the lion's share of the work. Last week, it was Pierce all day, every day, and especially down inside the 5. I think the Texans probably will beat the Jets, and I think Pierce will probably, again, like I said with Monty, probably will fall into the end zone. So it's at least worth thinking about. But I think Downs and Brown is the best bet.
Yeah, I hate relying on running backs to fall in the end zone. That's just so hard to predict. And yes, it might have been a little different last week, but the weeks before, Singletary was the clear back. He's had so much more success and a lot more touches in most of the recent weeks. So I can't rely on Pierce. Noah Brown, with the Jets secondary, do we think that Brown can produce? That's my question there. But Pickens, as you said, has Mitch, and they're going up against the Patriots defense. I think Downs is the safest bet here. He's going to get the volume, maybe not a high ceiling on him. But you know what? The ceiling's higher on Brown. So yeah, I'll agree with you guys. I don't love the choice. Downs is an easy one. Pickens, maybe, but Noah Brown, go with him because it's the Texans. All right, Isaac, long one here. Gibbs, Pacheco, Hall, Swift as my running backs, and Adams, Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Romeo Doubs, Zay Flowers as the wide receivers with one flex position open, 2 wide receivers, and 2 running back positions. Who should we start? Kevin, we're gonna pick his whole lineup here.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So two wide receivers, 2 running back, and 1 flex out of this group.
Yeah, so I'm locking in Gibbs. I absolutely love Gibbs. I think the upside is crazy. I think I'll go with Brees because I just love Brees, and I think any given week he could have a good week. And like I said, the Texans get beat up on for having a bad run defense. They don't exactly have a bad run defense, but they don't exactly have a good run defense. So I'd go with Gibbs and Brees. And then for the wide receivers, I would probably go with, Metcalf is tough this week. That's just not a good matchup. I'd probably go with Zay Flowers. Definitely rule Amari Cooper out immediately. I'm guessing that's Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Right. And the Raiders play the Vikings. That could be a good matchup, actually. I think I'd throw Devontae in there again. Flowers and Devontae. And then 1 flex, right?
1 flex, yeah.
1 flex. Gotta go back through my and I think I'll throw Pacheco in there because I think
Pacheco, by the way, has not practiced with a shoulder injury 2 days in a row.
And Swift, what's the word on Swift? Is he practicing?
Yeah, actually no designation.
There you go.
Guy got creamed, and he's good to go. Yeah.
Throw Swift in the flex. I like Swift. He's a really good player.
And Brian Johnson, offensive coordinator, said they need to make a more concerted effort to specifically run the ball and get Swift the ball, especially more in the first half. So when you hear that, it tends to see an uptick in usage.
There you go.
For me, it's Gibbs and Swift. And then as far as the receivers go, definitely Flowers and Adams. As far as my flex goes, I appreciate what you said about Brees Hall, Kevin, but no defense has to respect that pass whatsoever.
Yeah.
And Brees Hall cannot. They try to run him up the middle. They don't use him the right way. They're not using him in the passing game. So it's so hard. You're absolutely right. He has the ability to break off any big play, but I just don't see it. I just with that offense, I just don't see it right now. I need to see it first, and we did see it with Metcalf last week, and we were all down on Metcalf.
Right.
So I would lean Metcalf in the flex, just because what happened last week.
Yeah.
So I'll add one other thing that, as somebody who owns Breece Hall, multiple shares, the one thing I've been able to count on, honestly, is, especially with Zach Wilson at quarterback, and we're going to see that again, is garbage time dump offs.
Yeah.
So if this is a PPR league, I'm kind of thinking Hall in there. But let's break it down. I've got Gibbs is a no brainer. Swift, I think, is a no brainer with the comments and the fact that he has no injury designation. On the wide receiver, it looks like Cooper may miss, so that rules him out. Dobbs is that's a fun team, but he's a little touchdown dependent, which I just said I'm not a fan of. Zay Flowers is a slam dunk. Adams, I think, is a slam dunk. So then we're really looking at Hall versus Metcalf in that flex position. It's kind of hard to sit Metcalf after a 3-touchdown game, even though he is playing the Niners. As much as I like Hall, yeah, I think I would go Metcalf in the flex there.
And I don't love chasing points, but it's tough not to in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, at this week 14, I'm assuming you need this victory, Isaac. I'm assuming you're either you're fighting for seeding or just to get in the playoffs. You need to chase ceiling, right? This is not time to chase floor. So Hall has not had the ceiling that Metcalf showed last week.
I can't forget what I saw on Thanksgiving. The 49ers dismantled the Seahawks. I know Geno was banged up, but that's not. I just don't like that matchup for the Seahawks. I think
that was in Seattle too.
I think Shanahan has their number. Like I said, I'm trying to fade Seahawks at all costs. I got my own tough decisions with Tyler Lockett this week because I love the player so much, but he's been the biggest letdown of them all.
I think what Brian said about the garbage time, I mean, that does make sense, but
full PPR especially, half PPR is a little. If it's a full PPR, he's going to get 6 or 7 targets at least.
And we have seen him break off 80, take one of those 80 yards with Zach Wilson too. So, so I get it. I mean, it's probably going to be scary either way, but you have our answers.
So.
Yeah. That's a great question, Isaac.
Yeah.
Carter Ferris 07. I'm on my phone, so I can't do dono. I'm guessing saying donation, the super chat right now. But I'm going to ask once again because it's working. We continue to help this guy. Nice. Stroud against the Jets or Goff against the Bears, Rich?
Ooh, oh man, and this isn't because I'm a homer, but the Jets defense has been tough against quarterbacks.
Yeah,
been tough against quarterbacks, and the Lions have a lot to play for. So I think Goff against the Bears is the better bet here.
I want to give you guys a quote from a really intelligent man, and he said, "Stroud over everyone." Just saying. I don't remember who said it. I was kicking around my head.
I said almost everyone, and it depends on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah,
Thank you for calling me intelligent. I am intelligent.
It's hard. Sitting Stroud right now is really hard. He's red hot. He hasn't had like last week wasn't a monster week.
It was just I think Goff could have. Yeah, I think Goff could have a monster week.
Yeah, I like I said, sitting Stroud is difficult. I think I'll go with Goff though, just based on upside. But Goff didn't have the best game against the Bears last time they played. The Lions did everything they could to lose that game. So I still think I'd go with Goff because process over results. I think the Lions should snap.
Division game, I think the Bears will put up some points. Honestly, the Lions defense has been pretty poor, whereas we kind of know the Jets aren't going to put up points. So I don't think you'll need to pass as much. Volume will be down. You got the matchup. I'm in agreement. I think Goff against the Bears is the easy one there. I hope that we continue to give you success, Carter. So far, it looks like it has worked. Chris, yours truly, space 5. Should I drop Singletary for Keaton Mitchell, Kev?
I hate this question because I love Devin Singletary, but the answer to me is yes. I think Keaton Mitchell has the upside. I think Keaton Mitchell has the better path to being the RB1 for his own team, which is so weird to say. It's 1 week. Some people will probably chalk up Pierce's good game last week to a flash in the pan. But we all thought Pierce was the RB1 coming into the season and Singletary was the change of pace. And it seems like they're back to that, which just is a killer after what Singletary's accomplished this year. So for me, upside and likelihood to be the RB1 on his own team, I'd go with Keaton Mitchell myself.
Yeah, I might tend to agree there. The one thing I'm thinking about is, Damian, if something happens to Damian, this was like the Zach Moss situation where people were asking me, if JT's back, should I drop Zach Moss? And I said no, because something happens to JT, Moss is going to be a monster. So if that's the only thing that I'm hesitant about, is if something does happen to Pierce, then it's all Singletary. With Keaton Mitchell, I mean, you still have Justice Hill getting goal line carries. I mean, that you have Lamar running all over the place.
Gus Edwards still very much involved.
Yeah. So I think I think I might go Singletary just for that reason. I mean, the likelihood of him getting the most touches in the long run is better.
Singletary is definitely the safer option at this point. And Keaton does have upside, but it's like low touch upside. He is not dominating. You guys mentioned how many other running backs are getting touches. One guy's sharing the ball with one running back. One guy's sharing the ball with two running backs and a running quarterback. So I get the appeal, but I would stick with Singletary. I would not drop him for this. I think Singletary is going to be the safer bet. I really like this question. Chris Behasa. Hello. Unfortunately, I've been eliminated from my playoffs. But how should I prep for next year for Dynasty and Redraft? By the way, Kupp and Eckler are officially bad, ? And he said he sold his playoff spot. So in Dynasty, he has sold his draft position. So, Rich, we'll start with you on this one. Let's talk about Dynasty. We'll address Dynasty first, and then I don't know if you really prep for Redraft at this point. So I think Dynasty makes more sense.
I want to give a shout out to Chris. He's always around. What's going on, buddy? So Dynasty, this is a good question, because in this chat we have a guy who is we're all in a Dynasty league. We have a guy who is the 1 seed. We have a guy who is vying for a playoff spot, and a guy who has who basically sold his assets for draft capital. So when you say prepare for next year, you've already been eliminated. Going into the offseason, if you have Kupp and Eckler, I mean, I would try to see if I could sell those guys. If I'm assuming you have them in Dynasty, I'm not sure. But I would, take a look at the assets that I have and see what I can sell, because this draft class is going to be, should be a pretty good draft class coming out in Dynasty. So if you haven't made the playoffs with the assets you have, I'm fine with selling them, getting draft capital. Even if you can get some 25 picks, one of the strategies I like to utilize is if I can get draft picks for the future, try to stockpile those. If I actually hit on my picks in the draft that's coming up, I will try to sell those assets for a player that's young, someone like a JSN or something like that I can bring in, a stud right away, because you're taking two swings. Let's say it's 2 firsts that you would give up for him. You'd be taking 2 swings on a guy that you don't know. Whereas, you could bring in an established player with those picks on a team that's already young and strong. So that's kind of, I hope that makes a little bit of sense. I hope I'm not all over the place here.
So Chris just put in the chat, okay, I worded that question badly. I meant like Kupp and Eckler in Redraft. And I wanted to prep for your Dynasty league. I don't know if he means yours, Rich, or any in general. Okay. So as Chris, have you done Dynasty before? Or he said he sold his playoff spot. So
yeah, I don't know. But prepping for Dynasty, it's
there's all different ways.
Yeah, there's so many different strategies you can use. Yeah. One thing that I did, which I don't recommend, so I'll say this. This year I went in with a plan, thinking I am going to try to win right away and maybe grab some young assets along the way if the value's there. And I kind of
that was a startup.
Gears.
That was our startup.
Yeah, that was a startup. And then in the middle of the draft, I kind of switched gears, and then I thought I was going to go young, and then I kind of got into that mindset of, well, I want to win now, but I want to rebuild also. And that's something you can't do. And it's so tempting because you see all these names out there. You see the younger guys and you see some of the older guys. So I'd say just pick a path and stick to it. If you want to do what Brian did, it worked out well for him. He went young and they all hit. Or if you want to do what I planned on doing and go a little older, and then just try to win now and next year and then try to sell off assets. Those are the 2 routes I think you should go.
I'll talk about my strategy, but I want Kevin to speak first.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I think Demon gave a lot of great advice for continuing on in a dyno, and McFadden brought up how you can't really prepare for redraft this early. I will just say, I think it's important to remember the things that happened to you. It's like that Papa Roach song. The scars remind us that the past is real. So
I love Papa Roach.
Great song. So
Nice.
Collect those scars, and look at where you went wrong and do your best to mitigate in the future to not let that happen again. For me this year specifically, I will share this. I'll dish this with you guys. in almost every single league, I mentioned having a lot of shares of Tyler Lockett, right? I bought dips this year, a lot of dips, and I bought dips everywhere. Deontay dipped a lot this year. Lockett dipped a lot this year. Players like that who are older or have this weird stench on them and they're not wanted. I bought a lot of dips because I thought, oh, well, I'll have these good shares of these wide receiver 2s everywhere. And none of them really were wide receiver 2s. Some of them weren't even wide receiver 3s. So my advice would be,
the dip hasn't stopped. They're still dipping.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to buy dips, do it in moderation, not in bulk. Because I bought dips in bulk and I paid the iron price.
Also good ref.
You like that? See, we're on a roll. Just so be careful with where you buy dips and be careful with how many dips you buy. That's my little futures advice.
I think the biggest advice is actually what Rich already said. You need to pick a direction and stick with it. That doesn't mean you can't pivot, but once you pivot, like pivot and go all in on that. Don't keep going back and forth. Indecisiveness and straddling the line is one of the most difficult things to do in dynasty team building. So in my draft, in our startup draft, the legit football dynasty draft, I went in trying to get the best team, drafted my first 3. I think I got Justin Jefferson first round, Jalen Waddle second or third round, Breece Hall. Those are like my first 3 picks. But then I started getting really good offers for my draft picks. So I'm like, okay, I went with value. I traded, I think, 5 picks in a row in our startup draft. And what happened is, it turns out I hit on a lot of the rookies that I drafted. And suddenly my team was really good, to the point where I renamed them Accidentally Good. Once I knew that, I completely pivoted. All those draft picks, I started spending them on assets now, as I mentioned earlier, number 1 seed. But I didn't pivot. I didn't go back and forth. Like once I knew, and same for Rich. Once he knew that, okay, this season's kind of lost, he's gonna dedicate his efforts to selling off some of his assets, rebuilding for a very good 2024 draft pick. So best advice: pick a lane and don't trust yourself. Don't go back and forth.
Also, don't fall in love with players. Everybody has a price.
Yes,
big time.
100%. Everyone has a price. The price might be absurd, but there's still a price. All right. Good old J Dragon 91. Start Noah Brown, Drake London, or Brandon Cooks, Kev.
This one's really tough because the thing with Noah Brown is he is coming back from injury. He is coming off of a goose. Drake London is coming off of a bad game, but I think Drake London's matchup is good. I think the Falcons should be able to get some stuff going through the air on the Buccaneers. And Brandon Cooks has been one of the most consistent fantasy football wide receivers in recent weeks. He's been absolutely tearing it up. The Cowboys play the Eagles. Their secondary is trash. So honestly, it's weird. I don't like, we've been saying, I don't really like any of these. I like all these. J Dragon 91. I think you're in a good spot this week. I would probably fade Noah Brown the hardest, just based on the uncertainty and the fact that the Jets have a good secondary. Drake London, I'd probably go with Brandon Cooks, but I don't hate, if you went with Drake London, I would respect that decision as well.
I think what Kevin said, I can sum up what Kevin said in one sentence. There's a lot of uncertainty with the first 2 guys, and Brandon Cooks has been pretty solid. That's what sells us for me right there. Brandon Cooks
has a great matchup.
Yeah.
Like, to me, Cooks is the easy choice. Easy not because of Brown or London, but because more certain and fantastic matchup. The Eagles are in the bottom 4 in the league in passing touchdowns allowed. That's not like a mediocre. That's an awful passing defense. There's no middle ground there. We saw what Purdy and the Niners did to them last week. So I think Brandon Cooks is the obvious choice here. At home, Dallas could be retaking the NFC East. Zenith, Debo, Zay Flowers, or Lockett, sit 2. So instead of saying choose one, sit 2. Yeah, everybody uses their different phrases, Rich.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just picking one of these.
That's tough.
Sit 2. This is tough. I think you have to roll with Debo. As much as I hate to say sit Zay Flowers, for Lockett, that's easy. Sit Lockett with in this group, but I would go Debo over Zay Flowers right now.
I agree.
I'm trying to find the Raven. Why do I not see who the Ravens play this week? The Rams. So Debo had an amazing game, right? 3 touchdowns?
The Rams game, by the way, the weather's supposed to be terrible.
Okay. Yeah, but they use him close to the line of scrimmage. He scored a touchdown on a jet sweep in his last game. Do you know how many touches Debo got in that game? 7.
Wow.
Dude scored 3 touchdowns on 7 touches, and it's incredible. And Debo's incredible. That's so hard to count on, and it was against an Eagles team that doesn't tackle very well. Not that the Seahawks are all that much better. It's too risky. There's too many playmakers. I actually like Zay Flowers. here. I think he's shown each week that he can be more explosive. He's getting more comfortable in that offense. He is going to get more touches, volume. To me, I tend to trust, unless it's a huge disparity and a guy who's just going to guaranteed to rack up touchdowns, I'm going to trust volume if it's close. And so that I'm actually going to lean with Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I just think Debo is just so hot. He's so hot right now.
Yeah, and the other
also
thing,
good ref. He's just racking him up. Got the Zoolander, the Game of Thrones.
The other, with the weather and everything, I just think not that San Francisco won't roll Seattle, but I think there's more of a likelihood of Baltimore rolling the Rams, and Zay Flowers just not maybe getting opportunities because the running game's working so well. So I don't know. Neither is a bad option.
Yeah, I'd be fine with either one. Trent Nice. Cup or Noah Brown? A lot of Noah Brown questions tonight, Rich.
I'm gonna go with Noah Brown because Cup has just been so volatile.
Crazy. Yeah. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but it's just crazy that that's the question, and then the answer is like, Noah Brown. Okay,
Cup's been volatile, and again, I don't love the Noah Brown matchup, but the Jets can be susceptible to the big play. I mean, sometimes that defense just has stretches where they give up play after play after play because they're on the field for so long and they get tired. So I wouldn't be surprised if, you saw Noah Brown have at least, maybe a drive where, he grabs 3 for 40 yards, maybe gets in the end zone. I think he's much more likely to have that happen.
Plus, if Nico draws more of Sauce, then that means Noah gets DJ Reed on the other side, who's been very good, but he's not Sauce Gardner. So could be an advantage there. Kev.
Yeah, it's insanely difficult to even fathom this question given what we've seen from Cooper Kupp in his career. But yeah, I think Noah Brown just I can't believe him. Yeah, it feels weird coming out of my mouth. I think I'd go with Noah Brown.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen what the top 2 wide receivers in that Texan offense can do. We've seen what Noah Brown specifically as the wide receiver 2 can do in that offense. And Kupp, I know he scored last week, but he has not been the same Cooper Kupp. So I'm going to agree. We are in agreement on this. We are aligned. Noah Brown. Jay Dragon again. Start 2. Jerome Ford, Jaylen Warren, or DeAndre Swift, Kevin?
Yeah, who's Browns got this week? I have not seen much on them.
Cleveland plays the Jacksonville Jaguars and CJ Beathard. There's so many backup quarterbacks.
It's so gross. It's so sickening.
Joe Flacco versus CJ Beathard.
Wow.
I do kind of think that Jerome Ford will probably get a little bit more work there, given that there's a backup QB, maybe some work in the passing game as well. The Jaguars did kind of just give up a good game to Joe Mixon. So that's something to think about. Jaylen Warren, I have a hard time sitting him with how much of a piece of the pie I think he's going to get. But then DeAndre Swift feels like the most lock start of the week of these 3 for me. So I'd probably go Swift. And then gut check, I'd probably go Ford over Warren, but it's not easy. It's not an easy call in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going Swift and Warren. I think Jaylen Warren is a better running back than Ford, first of all. But I think he's a guy they can lean on, especially a guy like Mitch. He might just be able to lean on him in the passing game a little bit.
Yeah,
you can call it a passing game.
Yeah.
So that's my reasoning there.
By the way, I know you're an trust your eyes guy, but the charts agree with you, Rich. Jaylen Warren is actually one of the most efficient running backs in the entire league this year. He's been getting more opportunities than Najee. Najee is banged up. They said he's going to play, but he's not at 100%. I think we're all in agreement. DeAndre Swift is the no-brainer here. As for the second one, I am with the demon. I would actually choose Jaylen Warren over Jerome Ford here.
It's tough.
Lasher again. I can put Nico Collins over Waddle, and so this is earlier. He gave us the Jaylen or the Waddle just general question. Now we've got specifics. So Rich, Nico Collins over Waddle, and I can put Montgomery / Bijan at flex. So basically, the question is, does he put Nico Collins over Waddle?
Yeah, I think you. I mean, I know he's got Sauce though, but
Sauce doesn't do a lot of shadowing, right? He'll stay on the side of the field.
Yeah.
I trust Bobby Slowick and Houston to move around their wide receiver.
Yeah, and I think I trust Nico to get in the end zone more than I trust Waddle to get in the end zone and maybe even see more volume. So yeah, I'm going Nico.
Yeah, Nico's been kind of unbelievable this year, and especially his last game. I think he's going to start getting hyper-targeted like a true wide receiver 1 with Tank Dell being out. I love Jalen Waddle. I love the player. I love the talent. I even love him in fantasy historically. I think this year is probably not an indicator of what we'll see out of him in his career, but I think I'm very comfortable with Nico over Waddle this week.
You got a bona fide wide receiver 1 who has been an absolute stud when Tank Dell is out versus a guy who is very talented, but is far and away the number 2 wide receiver in that high-flying Dolphins offense. I think Nico Collins, even with the matchup, is a no-brainer here. Chris, yours truly, space 5, Saints or Texans D, Kev?
Yeah, Saints or Texans D. So, again, matchups, Texans play the Jets and Zach Wilson.
Moving on.
Yep, I was going to say that
do we need analysis here?
The Panthers D, or the Panthers offense is not.
Guy didn't even want to play quarterbacks, being forced to play quarterbacks.
It's not. Stop being a bad journalist. Stop that.
There's a lot. There's a lot going on there, but who knows? I think. Yeah, Bryce Young hasn't been setting the world on fire by any stretch, but I think the Texans D has the upside here. I think they could be a top 3 defense play this week.
Yeah, I would take the Texans. I need to see it from the Jets offense.
He's mad, but he would. He would.
I would take the Texans D.
Yeah. To me, easy one here. No, I mean not necessarily a complete slam dunk because of who the Saints play, but it's just it's
the Jets defense and Jets offense has given us no reason to think they can even get a first down. You know what I mean? Exactly. Much less score points.
Yep. All right. Simon Brush, ! Zeke, Elijah Moore, or Reed in flex, Demon?
Oh, man.
2 of these 3 were our top 2 on our waiver wire this week. Pickups, Elijah Moore and Zeke Elliott.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going Zeke because Pittsburgh defense and the New England offense. So for me, it's between Elijah Moore and Reed. Now, Elijah Moore saw 6 targets for 80 yards last week?
12 targets.
12 targets.
12 targets. He only caught 4 for 83, but 12 targets from Joe Flacco.
12 targets. And then Jaden Reed, with the way Jordan Love's been playing, man. Ooh.
Maybe Christian Watson sits. That'll open up more opportunities.
Man, I think Elijah Moore has the safer floor, but I think Jaden Reed could pop. So I would go Jaden Reed. I mean, the floor is probably about the same, to be honest. But I think Jaden Reed has the opportunity to just have a sick game, especially if Love keeps playing the way he is.
Yeah, I totally respect the answer. I would go almost an entirely different direction. I'm more inclined to lean Zeke or Elijah Moore. Like I'm kind of choosing between those 2, just because I feel like Jaden Reed has a little, not so much less upside, but like you said, the floor is a little scarier. Not that Zeke and Elijah Moore don't particularly have floors. I don't know. I just kind of feel like Zeke is the last man standing in New England right now. And Pittsburgh's defense is not this. I mean, they have the things that they do well. They get after the passer really well, but they're not exactly special in a lot of ways. So
pretty good against the run, though.
Zeke's interesting to me. I think I'd probably go with Elijah Moore because I think it's a little safer, but I'm not as out on Zeke as the rest of the world is. I actually think Zeke could have a good game tonight, just strictly based on volume.
I have trouble trusting Zeke or anyone in that Patriots offense at this point. I love the Reed is tantalizing. I think the ceiling is clearly the highest of the 3 of these. If you go with Jaden Reed, if you need to chase points, let's say you're fighting for a six spot in your wild card race,
a staple of this show.
Or it's a points for situation, you need to chase Reed. If you need more stability, a guy who just got 12 targets, in case you guys don't remember, Elijah Moore played with Joe Flacco in New York.
Oh, I remember.
These guys. Oh, I'm talking more to the audience. I know you remember. Of course, I'm not talking to the Jets fan here. So they've got the past, and it showed up right away. And the fact that he targeted him 12 times, I think the next closest receiver had 5. So that's kind of hard to ignore. Can't hurt going Reed if you need to chase the points, but if you just need a solid high volume play, I would go Elijah Moore. This is a good question for you two. We've got James Baby Cook or Breece Hall, Rich.
Ooh. Breece Hall has the higher ceiling. Absolutely, Breece Hall has the higher ceiling. But I would trust James Cook. If I need 10 points, I trust James Cook way more to get me the 10 points. But if I am looking for, that one catch for 85 yards and a touchdown, Breece Hall's got that all over him. So again, it's kind of like what Brian said before. If you want the 10 points, if you need the 10 points, but if you want to shoot for the moon, go Breece Hall.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any doubt that James Cook's going to be a focal point of this attack plan against the Chiefs. The Chiefs are very good defensively at every level. But we all know what happens when Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes go head to head. It's a historic matchup. It should be a fun one. Should, like Brian said, I think should have some shootout vibes. So I do think James Cook will be a beneficiary of that. And the thing about James Cook is he hasn't needed to fall into the end zone to be fantasy viable this year. Most of his production has come on yards. That being said, I do still love Breece Hall, and I think he's a top 7 dynasty running back. I think when the Jets have a competent quarterback, will be outstanding in general. I think I'd go with James Cook for the safety, but I don't hate Breece Hall this week as a rule. I think Breece Hall could have an all right game this week.
So I have this exact scenario on one of my lineups. I am in a guillotine league. I'm not sure if I've talked about it on this show, where every week 2 teams get eliminated. It's based on a 2-week score, so it's not accumulative. Yeah. We started with 19 or 20 teams. We were down to 4. I am in the top 4. We had week 13. I'm one of the bottom 2 teams, so I need a lot of points. I am starting Breece Hall because, yes, Cook is a little safer, but I'm chasing points. So I am living my advice of chasing the ceiling. Yeah. I need the ceiling play. I need to make up. I think one of the guys ahead of me, I'm behind by like 18 points. So I need to outscore him by 18 points. The other guy behind me, I've got a good lead on. So I need to chase points. So to me, Hall is it. But if you're at a safe playoff spot, you just want to maintain your position, I would go James Cook and go for the floor. Chris, yours truly, space 5. Bijan, Swift, Mostert, start 2, Kev.
We've been talking about our love for DeAndre Swift this week, pretty much the entire show. So I think DeAndre Swift is probably going to be a staple in that lineup. Looking past that, so the Dolphins play the Titans. The Titans have a pretty good run D.
One of the best run Ds in the NFL. With one of the worst pass Ds in the NFL. So their whole defense is only like 25th because their pass D is so bad.
I don't think that's necessarily something that I love. It's not like Bijan has a cake matchup or anything, but you mentioned, Brian, there's probably going to be room for him to exploit the Buccaneers through the air. So I'd probably go with Bijan and Swift.
Yeah, I like that process. I like the idea that Bijan could catch a few passes. And again, we keep talking about floors. I think Bijan has a safer floor than Mostert, especially, working Achane in and everything that Miami will do.
Jeff Wilson hasn't gone anywhere. He's
Yeah. So I think that's a safer floor.
Bring up Jeff Wilson is not a factor in this.
I love Jeff.
I know you do.
Friday game, Jeff Wilson got like 16 opportunities.
Achane was not in that game. Did you not see?
How disgusted Brian was right now.
And he's an RB5.
I know. Brian hates Jeff Wilson.
I don't hate him. He's just realistic. I'm a Dolphins fan. Jeff Wilson doesn't have a role. Mostert only had, I think, 10 or 11 carries in that game against the Commanders, a game in which they had a lead from the start. Mostert also showed up in the injury report. He's not going to miss, but Achane looked amazing. Over 100 scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns like he does every time he actually plays a full game. So I'm actually Bijan Swift. This is an easy one for me. Mostert's there, and he could certainly get a touchdown. He will get touches, but Bijan and Swift are guaranteed to get more. Brian Davis.
I know. I just want to know what Jeff Wilson did to Brian.
I've never seen him so angry at saying
because
the way he
said
the name Jeff Wilson, it's like it tasted bad.
I like Jeff Wilson. I think he's a great player. I think
it has nothing to do with his talent. We've done the waiver wire show, and he's like, Jeff Wilson. I'm like, no, Jeff Wilson's not going to get the ball. He's not going to get the ball. You've got Achane as the clear lead back. Mostert is the clear RB2. So you're talking about an RB3 who might get 3 touches, and you're like touting his.
You hate him. We get it.
We get it. It's personal. All right.
You might as well start Salvin Ahmed too. Why not?
Great player. Great talent.
This is Gibbs for me. Easy. Yeah.
Okay, Gibbs. Moving on. Yeah. Make sure we get all the questions. Thank you, Brian Davis, for your question.
Killed it.
Brandon Nelson, Rich, would you start Tony Pollard or Austin Eckler?
Oh, I would start Tony Pollard because F. I'm not going to say the F word, but I'm going to say F the Chargers offense. Man. Ooh. And Eckler is, Brian, you want to bring out the chart about the age chart that we discussed?
28 years old.
28 years old.
That's tragic.
Yeah,
that's absolutely. The charts are undefeated this season, Brian. It's Brian McFadden versus time. That's what it is, really. Pollard's a no-brainer.
I think Eckler's done. I hate to say it. Love the guy. He's the biggest champion for fantasy players amongst active NFL players. Ride Jeff Wilson straight to the cellar. Another Dolphins fan. See? Not just me.
Yeah, he is the interdimensional champion, by the way, in the Pro Football Demon.
So he knows what he's talking about. He won the interdimensional championship.
Oh, let's go. There
Tom
you go.
E. Finn fan, I trust everything that you say.
I like this guy.
All right, now you threw off my question. Every time
I'm sorry, Brian.
What order was I?
Those little blue stars are hard to find.
There's so many. They're all the same color. I don't know what's going on. All right, let's Super Dave 334. First of all, good evening. Yeah, what a pleasant greeting. Thank you, Super Dave 334. Talking about those Miami running backs, not named Jeff Wilson. No, there's both. That means two, Kevin.
Jeff Wilson, Super Dave?
So I've got both Miami running backs. Who should be played? I mean, are we even?
H-N. Yeah.
It's H-N. Okay. Yeah. H-N for the win. Brian Davis with another question. Rashee Rice from KC or Brandon Cooks from Dallas. He let us know the teams that those guys are on. Thank you.
What a guy.
Brian, making it nice. Great name.
I'm going Cooks here, Kev.
Same.
Yeah.
We're in kind of rapid fire mode. Not on purpose. We're getting some layups here.
Sci-fi with a C. Javonte or Dionate?
Deonate. Yeah, we all know.
Kevin, you can start this one. Javonte or Deontay Johnson?
Yeah, this is. I hate the Deontay Johnson discourse because I've been a huge fan of his throughout his career. He's always been better than his stats, but I just think that I don't think this.
You know what he's better at? He's better at ignoring fumbles on live plays and
that's
around. He's
that's
better at getting a catch and running backwards 5 yards.
That's a very real problem. And the Chargers' run D is not special. I think I would take Javonte Williams, but it doesn't feel good because I've been a Deontay truther and I feel like I'm turning my back on him.
Yeah,
but the truth of Deontay is he's not good anymore. So that's the truth.
Yeah.
Oh, is he 27 or is he 28?
Oh, it has nothing to do with age.
Deontay has been, I mean, for a guy who gets the separation he does, he has been wildly inconsistent throughout his career. So yeah, I'm going Javonte.
Yeah, Javonte is the workhorse of that Broncos offense. So this is an easy one for me.
By the way, I just saw that Geno Smith is questionable now.
I saw that too.
Geno's questionable. Really?
About that.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know
what happened. Say what the injury is.
It just said it came through. Geno Smith.
I'll pull up the blurb. Yeah. Dealing with groin issue.
Groin injury. So that's a new injury.
I think
that must have popped up in practice. That's concerning. Maybe anybody we recommended Metcalf to earlier. Maybe that docks it a little bit. We talked about Jaden Reed earlier. Do we want to just start? All of us. Do we
give him a quick? Yeah, like if you need points, Jaden Reed is a guy who could give you a high ceiling.
Watch that floor though.
Yeah.
All right. A score question, Rich.
That's fun.
Score predictions for tonight's game: 6-3.
10. I actually have this on my set up on my live stream. I think I have it at 10-6, 10-3, something like that. Yeah.
Over under is 30, Kevin. Yeah. 3-0.
So disgusting. I think I'm gonna take in a shocker. I'm gonna take the Patriots over the Steelers, 19-16.
19 points, bro. Oh my God.
Yeah.
McFadden,
Did you say Patriots or Steelers for 19?
Patriots.
Patriots score 19 with who? Ramondre's not playing.
Watch.
Bailey Zappi's the quarterback.
Well, I mean, Trubisky could throw like 3 pick sixes, so that's
okay. Fair. They would have to be multiple defense.
Yeah.
By the way, you can't even say Patriots special teams. They have one of the worst special teams in the NFL this year. Their defense has been very good. That's it.
Yeah, my buddy Adrian. We all know Adrian Revito from the Legit Football NFL podcast. He always has when he makes a prediction that he wants to happen. He calls it wish casting. I'm wish casting. The Patriots are going to beat the Steelers tonight. Watch.
Let's go.
Simon Brush. Zeke. Oh, we already did this one. Another one of those. He snuck it in.
Love you, Simon.
Simon Brush.
Matthew Kotsatos, Ford, Amari, Zeke, or Gabe Davis, Rich?
Just drop Gabe Davis, first of all, because he has no business playing football.
Also, Amari is not practicing yet.
Does he?
No, I actually Gabe Davis could be a sneaky good play this week, to be honest. So I out of all these guys, I like his ceiling the highest. So I might roll the dice with Gabe Davis.
I think we need to get a time capsule for this moment, McFadden. We need to have that playing on a loop.
Or you put him up against 3 pieces of garbage. No,
yeah, I think I agree. I would go Zeke or Gabe. I think Zeke for
what is it with Zeke? He has them scoring 19 points.
Guys,
and Zeke getting he thinks.
Guys, we all collectively said bench Metcalf last week. Okay,
Rich, we got to do it. We got to do a bet here. We have to do some sort of wager. He thinks the Patriots are going to score 19 points. And by the way, did you see this stat? I'm sure you did, Kevin. The Patriots have lost their last 3 games and each game they allowed 10 points or less
Yeah,
and
I've
lost.
seen that stat.
And you're
I've
thinking
seen
you're going
it.
to score 19 points and Zeke's going to turn back the clock and lead
Watch.
the way.
Watch.
Okay,
Brian,
hey,
let's not a chart. Let's just
We were
demolish this
wrong
guy
about
right
we
now.
were wrong about the Seahawks last week. We've been wrong.
We were way
But
off.
that was
We saw
DK
that coming.
Metcalf
That was.
against.
That's
This is Zeke.
This
right,
is
Kevin?
ZK.
This is Zeke.
not. Rich,
Elliott
think of a bet. Think of some terms, or you guys
He has
in
to
the
shave
chat.
his head. That's the only bet. He has to shave his head.
Can't do it. Can't do it. These
Right,
these
if
are
we
my
can-
money makers.
By the way, I'm with Gabe Davis on this one. Of these
Yeah.
guys, you're going to need to score points to keep up with KC. I think that game could be a high scoring one. So why
Can't
not go
wait.
Gabe Davis? More Zeke. Lunar Steel with
we
an
said
X.
Pollard before.
Tony
Yeah,
Pollard
this
or
is
Zeke?
this is Pollard all day.
Yeah.
Okay, Pollard. At least you're not that delusional. Okay, Clark Lanning. Nice photo. Nice.
He said that
couple
delusional.
photos. It looks like like engagement photos or something.
Yeah.
Rich,
Clark.
Deontay or Elijah Moore in half PPR.
I'm going Elijah Moore because of the volume.
Same.
Yeah. All right. So once again, not delusional. Kevin picking Deontay for no apparent reason. Tom, Mr. Fimfan with Tankdale out. Is Nico Collins stepping up and worth playing?
Yeah, we kind of covered
Absolutely.
this. Yeah, he's
start.
definitely. Yeah.
Moving on, we got about 9 minutes left. Trent, nice. So since you guys picked Noah Brown over Kupp and Cook over Hall, should I flex Hall instead of Noah, or keep Noah and just have Cook in the RB spot?
Kevin. I think I would go with both personally. I think I would go with both Cook and Hall over Noah, just based on the fact that it's against the Jets and the floor, as we've seen, is 0.
Yeah. I don't know between Hall and Noah Brown. I mean, I think it's about the same. You're running the same risk of having. I like Noah Brown's chances of getting points more so than I like Breece Hall's, though, just because it's the Jets' offense, man. Like I said, I don't know. I'll say stick with what Kevin said. I guess the Hall and Cook.
Yeah,
I
say the
don't
same
love
thing.
it. Yeah.
Hey, don't sound so excited, guys. You're agreeing with the delusional guy.
I don't love it.
Frosty Cupcake 72. I have Henry and Mixian starting at running back with Kyron at flex, Eckler on the bench. I don't know if I can trust him. This doesn't look like a question. This is just a statement.
We will affirm you. You're doing the right
Make sure
thing.
you proofread before you have Brian read, because he will call you out.
Yeah, he will roast.
I'm like Ron Burgundy. I read what's in front of me on the prompter. Okay. Charlie Manitakis, what happening, guys? Would you start Jaden Reed or Josh Downs as a flex, Steeman?
Josh Downs is the much safer play here. So I would go I would go Josh Downs. I don't love Jaden Reed, but I would go Josh Downs.
Yeah, I agree. I would go Josh Downs. I'm a
Big
little.
matchup too.
I got burned by Jaden Reed a little bit last week. I was chasing the points. He's been getting a lot of work, and it's not always in the conventional form of like targets or like targets downfield or this, that, or the other. He gets rushing attempts. He'll score a rushing touchdown every so often. But we've seen as recently as last week what that looks like. Like I want to say like 4 PPR points last week. That's just not going to cut it getting you into the playoffs. So I like the safety and the floor of Josh Downs.
Downs also only had like 4, just FYI, only had like 4 fantasy points last
Did
week.
he?
Neither one of these guys had good weeks.
But I think Downs has had more up.
I think Downs has the better
volume.
matchup. Well,
Yeah.
The Giants.
That too.
Yeah, they both have good matchups. Rich thoughts?
I said Downs, but I could see Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed's got the better quarterback right now. So you know what? I'm going to flip my answer and say Jaden Reed. It's because of that.
Let's chase some points. Let's go Jaden Reed. Points. I don't hate the Downs. You know, I'm a volume guy, but sometimes you got to chase the points. So
I see what you highlighted there, Brian, by the way.
Well,
yeah.
Boop.
Evil.
Not a question.
Evil.
But Tommy Finfan said because the Jets suck. You know what? I put this up here because he said Richard.
Yeah, I like the name Richard. It sounds strong.
Richard, it does. It sounds regal. I think we have gotten to all the questions.
You're kidding.
Oh wait, here we go. Chris Behasso with another one. Monte, Kupp, or Eckler at flex?
Yeah. So Monty, Kupp, or Eckler at flex. I feel like Behasso. I think Monty's the answer. I respect your mistrust of Kupp and Eckler. They've done everything to earn it this year. So throw Monty out there, and as I've said repeatedly, the chances he falls in the end zone are high. Go get that touchdown.
Yeah, I'm on Monty.
Monty. Crazy to think that David Montgomery is getting picked over Kupp and Eckler, but that's where we're at.
The world we live in.
Colby Robbins made sure to point out that this is a new question. Even though it's the same guy with just a bunch of other guys thrown in, I think our answer will be the same. But hey, we got 5 minutes. We might as well.
Yeah.
Kevin, choose 2 to start. Josh Downs, George Pickens, Romeo Doubs, Damian Pierce, Noah Brown, Jonathan Mingo, or Gabe Davis.
Oh my goodness, the overwhelmingness.
He gave us the whole roster, which is fine.
I think I would go with Downs and Davis.
Yeah, I think I would go Downs and Davis too. I think that's the safest play, and then you have the upside of Davis.
And upside, right? Yeah. You're kind of two-packing it, yeah.
Yeah, why not? Downs, exactly. You got the floor with Downs, the upside with Davis. I'm going to agree with you guys here. Jonathan Mingo shouldn't even be on your list, by the way. Just take him off. Did you guys see that catch he made and then he twisted out of bounds?
So bad.
He forced his way out of bounds where they normally try to stay inbounds. Has not been a good year if you're a Panthers fan. Lions first seed by Lunar Steel.
I think the Niners are, if the Niners are healthy, they're a juggernaut. It's going to be tough.
And even the Niners are actually behind the Cowboys and the Eagles at this point.
Yeah, it's really going to, I think this Cowboys-Eagles game is going to go very far to determining who it's going to be in the 1 seed. I think if Dallas wins it, it's an open field between Dallas, Philly, San Francisco, and Detroit, which is so awesome.
I think, Detroit is going to win that division in all likelihood, although Green Bay has a shot.
They're storming.
So something to watch. But I think the first seed, there's too many juggernauts ahead of Detroit. And the way the Niners are playing at the very least, even though the Cowboys and Eagles have to play each other, it's going to be hard for the Lions to pass all 3 of those. Angelo Vitanza, is Geno Smith going to play this week? If he doesn't, should I play Browning or Trubisky?
Browning. You might want to play Browning. But we said play Browning over Geno Smith earlier.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think exactly. Yeah. Even if Geno is playing, we just let's see what he does in another week.
The Geno injury scare just affirms it, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I highlighted this comment here, Brian, because there's a Chargers fan sighting. We don't get very many of these.
I like that, Colby.
Okay.
You're a loyal
he's
guy.
He's admitting it, so that is awesome. I'm a Jets fan. He's a Bills fan. He's what are you, Brian? A Dolphins fan?
Dolphins fan.
What kind of question was that?
Bills Mafia,
digs
baby.
At me. This is what I'm not used to this. My team's in first place in the division. I'm getting darts thrown my way. I'm used to throwing the darts.
We hate you.
Oh, be quiet, Bills fan. 7 division championships in a row. I don't.
It's 4.
Okay, it is 4, but still.
I'll take it.
Yeah, so we're all AFC East guys, but it is nice that there are Chargers fans out there, Colby. Hang in there. You're going to have a legend here. This is the same question, by the way.
Coming out the cut.
But doing $20, we'll read it again.
We appreciate you.
I'm willing to go a little deeper. The reason why we're choosing Browning
is
because the Jamar. I mean, he just targeted Jamar Chase. He seems like he's smart. He seems like he knows to hit his playmakers. So, and that's a tough matchup for Geno Smith. So, it's one of the reasons why we decided Browning.
Yeah.
All right. I do have another question there, but thank you so much for that $20 super chat. TD, hey guys, I can only pick 2 full PPR. Drake London, Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, Elijah Moore, and Calvin Ridley. Much appreciated, Kevin.
Yeah, there's a lot of disappointment in this list here on this season. I'm sorry, TD. We are all very comfortable chasing the DK points this week, so I'd throw DK in there. And then, Calvin Ridley in his shootout gives you a bad game. Elijah Moore is very interesting. And I think so is Drake London this week. I'd probably go with DK Metcalf, and then I'd flip a coin between Elijah Moore and Drake London. That's my personal answer. I hate ruling out Ridley, but he crushed you last week. If you were watching that game, Ridley crushed you.
Christian Kirk is now out. There's only so many weapons.
And it's CJ Beathard. So, I mean, he might just target that number 1 receiver, heavily. But, again, it's a risk. I mean, if we're looking for a safe play, it's for me, DK, you have the ceiling with DK, and then I think the safe sure bet is probably Elijah Moore, just because of what we saw last week with the targets. and it is Joe Flacco, who, you know, is a capable quarterback. So Drake London, I don't trust. Calvin Ridley, I don't know if I trust that. So I think those are the two least volatile options out of this list.
Yeah, I mean, I know I was just talking about Ridley, but I got to go Elijah and DK.
Yeah, I like Elijah this week.
Floor ceiling option. And, you know, Elijah Moore did get 83 yards. They were actually using him on the outside a little more last week, which is nice to see, instead of all these little dink and dunks. And
12 targets, you said, right?
Yeah, 12 targets and 83 yards on just 4 catches.
That's crazy.
All right, we have one question we are going to close it out on, and it is, who is the tallest between you three? I'm 5'10". Kevin, we'll start with you. What is your height? I've never met you guys in person.
Yeah, I've never met either of them in person. I'm 6 feet tall. And my license says that, but genuinely, truthfully, I'm actually 5'11" and 7/8". But please don't tell anybody.
Kevin,
you could have not told us, and we wouldn't know.
It's between us
the exact same height.
You're 5'11".
It's the same thing with me. I'm just like touching the 6 foot mark.
So then I think maybe the man bun would put me over.
So we both tower over Brian. That's the important part.
Tower. Well, I'm with Lunar Steel. I'm 5'10". Same thing. I'm like 5'9" and 3/4. I round up. We all round up. Let's do it.
But then with that hair sticking up, you're going to be about.
Yeah,
he
might be
the tallest with the spike.
Tuft in the front.
You know what, Brian? I gotta just say this really quick. Sneaky tall. Somebody who I thought would be absolutely short, but is actually tall, is Jimmy Ray. He was
Jimmy's
almost
tall.
Looking at him, you'd be like, oh, that's a short dude. Yeah, actually not. Actually, like an inch shorter.
You guys met up in LA. I know he visited you and Anthony. So okay.
Oh, Tom's in the club. Demon. You, me, and Tom are all the same.
Nice. Look at that.
I love it.
All right. Well, on that note, it is 5:01 on the West Coast, 8:01 on the East Coast. I know you guys are all dying to see this Patriots and Steelers slugfest. Ooh, nice.
Fuck Bumble Mel Harry.
I love this guy.
Thank you, dude.
That's how we're going to end it. Forget the height question. We're going to end it on whatever the hell that was from dude. Thank you, guys. We are here. We're going to stay here through the fantasy playoffs at least, right? So we'll do 3 more weeks.
Can't wait.
Good luck to all of you. Hopefully you've already locked up spots, or you lock up spots after this week. At least for the next 3 weeks, we'll be here every Thursday, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. We're talking about some sort of show we could do in the off season. We don't have it laid down yet, but feel free to throw out ideas. And on the Legit Football channel, every Tuesday on YouTube, check out the Waiver Wire show. We're also going to do that for 3 more weeks with Kevin and I. We'll give you top 10 waiver wire picks.
Help you win some championships.
And I will be covering the game tonight in about 8 minutes.
Yeah. So stick around on the Pro Football Demon YouTube channel. It'll be much more entertaining than the game itself. Rich will go on rants as he does.
Is good. I like bad football personally.
Yeah.
I really do.
And we gotta think of, can we think of in like 10 seconds what kind of wager, because there's no way the Patriots are scoring 19 points in this game and winning. There's just no way.
Can I get my line reduced to 16.5 and I'll take the over?
16.5 for the Patriots? No, you said 19. Why would we reduce that?
I was being bold. I was making a bold prediction.
No, then you stick to your bold prediction.
All right.
18.5 over under. We don't have to who wins. We'll just do the
somebody
Patriots
send
score.
me like a Jets thing? I'll wear a Jets thing on the show next week, but I don't have one. I don't want to spend real money on it. So
okay, we'll figure that out. All right.
I'll send you my Addy.
How about you just paint your face green?
I'll get like an NY. Well, I'm from New York. That's good for me. Let's do that.
Just dress up like Fireman Ed, just like top to bottom.
Yep, I like that. We'll cook something. But vice versa for you guys. You guys have to support the Bills next week if the Patriots do.
We didn't make any bold predictions, but okay.
That's true. It's on you. We did not take the other side.
I want my reward if I call my shot and I'm right.
Right.
Two Bills fans over here.
All right, I'm not going to say enjoy the game because it's probably going to suck, but enjoy Rich's live stream. That'll be infinitely more entertaining. That'll be over the Pro Football Demon channel in about 10 minutes or so. Thanks, everybody in the chat. We will see you next Thursday. Good luck.